Hello everybody, 10th Dr. Matt here with another Magnoli review, and today we're going to be talking about the Tennant Long-Coat, finally. So we're just going to jump right into screen accuracy. Alright, so when we're talking about screen accuracy, I think I had the most difficult time finding a screen accurate overcoat. There are like a billion different overcoats out there, and the prices range vastly from like $100 to well over 1,000. Obviously, like nobody's gonna have enough money to like buy all of them and compare them and whatever. Um, so what happened with me is that I used to own the blue suit from Baron Boutique in wool, and when I purchased that suit, I also purchased the $150 overcoat from Easy Cosplay, and there's like a million different guys on eBay who sell that same coat with different names, but it's the same coat. Um, don't get me wrong. If at $150, that coat was a great value. I mean, it looked pretty good. You know, the screen accuracy was pretty decent. But the more I looked at it and the more I wore it, the more I didn't like it. Um, the price was right, but the material, it was faux suede, but it was very thin. So if you're looking to like wear this coat when it's cool outside, you know, or it starts getting into wintertime, the Easy Cosplay one is not going to keep you warm at all. That's like a coat you could wear it in the springtime and a little bit in the autumn, and like that's it. With the Magnoli coat, I did get it in the faux suede. It is available in a cashmere wool blend, which is like what you would find in a normal, any old men's shop overcoat. But if you really want the screen accuracy, you got to go with the faux suede. And I'm going to just get this nice and close to the camera so that you can hopefully see the texture of that fabric, because it's impeccable. When you look at like some up close stills of the coat that David had, this fabric is absolutely as close to the original fabric as you're gonna find. So that's like number one, was a big part for me. The other big part, which I feel like most, if not all, of the other available overcoats struggle with, are the buttons. This coat, and I'm gonna stand on my tiptoes here, you can actually see all four buttons like you're supposed to when it's open. The problem, one of my major issues with the Easy Cosplay coat that I had, as well as, you know, I know that this is a problem like with the Think Geek coat and a number of others, the lapels, just the way that they naturally fall, they fold over to be like these huge things, and they cover up the top buttons, so you end up looking like you only have three buttons. For most people, maybe that's not that big of a deal, but I quickly became a screen accuracy junkie, and so that was like a pet peeve of mine. It was like every time I looked at it, it was like kind of annoying. So I was very happy to find out that Indy had just recently like updated his overcoat pattern, so it was more accurate and the whole 9 yards. And so when I got it and I saw the lapels were perfect and you can see all four buttons, I was like ecstatic. So while we're on that topic, we can talk about the lapels. I mean, you know, with David's coat, that was like a main thing that many of the replicas don't have. A lot of the replicas, they have these huge triangular lapels, and his were like almost a little more rounded at the top, and they're like very long and thin, but you can still see the four buttons. So I was very happy with these. You know, this is as close as you're gonna get unless you get the original coat. They are a little bit rounded at the top, as you can see, and when you're like looking at this coat on a hanger, the lapels might look like they're a little bit short, but you know, on me, they come down to just like an inch or two above my belly button, so they are quite long, which is good. And they, you know, they have a nice flowiness to them. They're not super stiff. And so when you know, do the thing and you put your hands in your pockets, it really completes the look. So that's another good point there. One other thing about these buttons, they are working buttons, so you can, if you really wanted to, close this. Like if you're wearing it, you know, to a business meeting in the wintertime and it's cold out and you don't want to catch a draft, you can close these buttons and it becomes a well-fitting, double-breasted overcoat, and it's a very nice trim fit. You know, it looks great. That just looks odd because I didn't button that bottom one there, but there is another button there. But you know, most of the time you're going to be wearing this thing open because obviously the doctor never closes his jacket, and it just looks way more awesome when it's open. But if you do want to close it for some reason, you can. Other things to note as far as screen accuracy, the pockets are excellent. The flaps are at an angle, and then when you open it up, you've got your pocket there, which is actually pretty deep, which is nice. One on either side. You've also got pockets on both sides, the inside of the coat. And while I have my coat open here, you can see that the lining is a nice navy TARDIS-y blue, which is also accurate to the original. The only minor difference here is that apparently the original, the silk lining had a little bit of a striped texture to it. I mean, I didn't even know that until I saw like an extreme close-up swatch of it. And if you're looking at it in an episode, it's like so difficult to see that you know, I don't think that's going to be a major concern for most people. It's not for me. One other minor thing with the inside, I know that in the original coat, these pocket linings were not the same material as the outside of the coat. That's what these are. It's literally the same exact material. In the original, I know that this was kind of like a orange, brownish, rusty colored silk. You could probably request that from Magnoli if you really wanted it, but again, at a quick glance, I don't think anybody at a convention is going to stop you and be like, hey, your pocket's not orange on the inside. Anyway, so the other important things are on the back of the coat. So I'm going to turn around, and so as you can see, it has the action pleat, or box pleat as they would call it, in the middle. So when you go to open a door, you flex your arms, it opens up like it's supposed to. And the other nice thing is that when you do this, it closes back up again. The reason I say that is because the Easy Cosplay coat, at least the one that I had, that would like stick. I don't know if it was just the texture of the fabric and it was kind of tacky or what, but if I would like do this and the thing would open and then I would relax my arms, it would stay kind of open and funky looking, and I had to like reach back there and pull it down to fix it. It was really kind of annoying. So that's a major plus here for me. I mean, it may be for you too, but anyway, the point is that the screen accuracy is there. And I'm going to get close so that hopefully you can see the stitching back there. The darts, as you call them, are exactly the way that they are supposed to be. They go, all the way down to where the vent starts. And so I'm actually going to remove the coat because obviously it's super long and I'm not going to stand on a ladder. But I need to show you the vent, which is the other like major thing with this coat. So back in a second. Okay, so this is kind of like an odd way to show you this, but if you can kind of get an idea here, this is the back vent of the coat. The stitching is great. So it's actually like a flap that folds over, and you've got, the buttons are working. So if you wanted to close this for some weird reason, you really could. And then, so it's like on the other side, you got this flap, and you can see the 4 buttons there. Go all the way down. And again, it's like spot on to the one in the show. It looks great. So another important thing with the faux suede fabric, if you're going to get this coat, spend the extra money and get the faux suede. I'm sure that the cashmere wool blend is also great, but first of all, it's going to be thicker and heavier, and so you're going to be hot. Granted, like, I'm going to be warm in this too, but wool is way hotter than this faux suede stuff, and I'm sure that it's like actually thicker too. So with the faux suede, what's nice is when you're walking around or it's windy or something, it's very flowy, so you get the kind of superhero cape thing that you're looking for, which you probably won't get at least as much with a heavier, thicker wool fabric. So I guess that about covers it for screen accuracy, and as you might expect, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 because I couldn't be happier with this coat. The color, the fabric, the buttons, the stitching, the pockets, the vent, the action pleat in the back, the lapels, everything for me is like as perfect as I could ever want it, and it's fantastic. So with that, we can talk a little bit about quality and workmanship. I know that we kind of have been already, but we can just kind of delve a little bit deeper into that next. Okay, so quality, excellent. And you know, I've obviously talked about a lot of this stuff already, so I'm not going to totally repeat myself. But I just want to give you, you know, kind of some close-up shots of some of the stitch work and just how really well made this is. I mean, you know, even the top has that little triangular bit that you can't really see because I'm moving around too much. But like the stitching is impeccable and the size is perfect. Now, when you take your measurements for this, Indy does recommend that he has a separate form. He has like a leather jacket form that you have to use for this. And in the form, he does recommend that you take your measurements off of a well-fitting jacket that you already own. So, my advice to you is, number one, do that. Two, make your measurements for the sleeves a bit longer. Here's my reason for that. I did have a well-fitting coat that I took the measurements off of, but when watching the show, you will notice that the sleeves on David's coat are pretty long. You'll notice like when he reaches for Rose's hand or something, you'll see that the sleeve kind of goes over his knuckles a bit. And I wanted that. I didn't want my sleeves to be like here and end up showing the cuff, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So I had my, for example, like a shirt, I wear a 34 or 35 sleeve, which is not really the measurement. It's like a 25-inch sleeve in reality. With the leather jacket that I was taking the measurements off of, the sleeves were 26 inches. And they were like, probably right about here. So it would have been okay. But I sent the measurements of a 27-inch sleeve because I knew I wanted them a little bit longer. And I actually I made the measurements for the width a little bit bigger. I think I did like a half an inch or maybe 1 inch bigger. I can't remember off the top of my head. But again, I wanted it to be comfortable to fit over a suit, but also, still be trim fitting and, where you could just wear it over a work shirt without a suit jacket underneath. And basically, I wanted it to be well fitted, but comfortable. And it's just that. It's perfect. So, I mean, it's really, workmanship and quality is absolutely 5 out of 5. All right, so next let's talk about price, because that's going to be a major point of concern for most people. Okay, so price. As I said before, there are so many overcoats out there, and the prices really range tremendously. I mean, like I said, the Easy Cosplay one is like $150. The Think Geek one is, I think, around $350, $400. If you want to get a coat custom made for you by Steve Ricks, don't get me wrong, they're excellent coats, and his pattern is great, but I believe he charges about $1,200. When everything is all said and done. So it's possible that Steve Ricks's coat is the most accurate one out there, but I don't know about you, but $1,200 for just a coat was a little bit of a stretch for me. That being said, this coat is not cheap either, but it's a lot cheaper than $1,200. So when you're looking at Magnoli's website, you will see right off the bat that this coat starts at $695. And I say starts because that's the price for the coat if you get the cashmere wool fabric. If you want to really bump the screen accuracy to the maximum, which I think you should save your money and do, you're going to want to get the faux-suede fabric, which costs an extra $155. So when everything's all said and done with this coat, it's going to cost you $850. That is a big number. So I'm sure for many people that number is just going to be a bit too high, especially if you're looking to build a 10th Doctor costume on a budget, or if you already spent $575 on the suit and you really don't have a lot of spare cash to buy a very expensive coat. Understandable. But if you save your money, or if you just are rich or something and you just have a ton of money, get this coat because it's absolutely worth it. So, I'm going to give the price a 5 out of 5 for what it is. Because let's face the facts here. If you were to go to any old men's store, Men's Warehouse, or whatever, any place where you could buy a long overcoat like this, one, they're not going to be faux suede there. So they are going to be like a cashmere wool blend, or maybe just straight up wool or whatever. So yeah, the screen accuracy is not there. But the point is, if you were to buy a coat approximately this length and size, and with this amount of work that was put into making it from a store like that, you're probably going to spend about $900 plus. That may sound like a lot, but it's true. I mean, I've looked. When I was looking for this coat, I looked everywhere. And to get a coat like that, first of all, it's extremely difficult to find a double-breasted one for some reason. Most of them are single-breasted. They're not quite as long. I mean, they only come down to maybe about your knee, and obviously that's not long enough. And they're like $1,000. And so, if you're going to spend that much money on a nice overcoat that, again, I mean, this is not a costume piece. I mean, this is a real overcoat. So you can wear this thing to work, to business meetings in the wintertime, and you're going to look stylish, and it's going to be great. So if you're going to spend that amount of money, get the Magnoli one. The price is totally worth it for the amount of time that it takes them to make it. I mean, this thing was seriously, it was like 4 weeks, and it was on my doorstep, which is crazy to think about because there's so much work that went into this. So, when you consider the amount of work it is, it's all handmade, the fabric, I mean, the amount of fabric, the silk lining, all the pockets and buttons and everything. Yes, $850 is a lot of money, but when you consider all of those things, it's a fair price for what it is. So, like I said, price 5 out of 5. And since I just briefly mentioned shipping, let's talk about shipping. All right, so shipping, as with the suit, this, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to make. Like I said, mine, I ordered them at the same time, and the overcoat was done like 2 or 3 weeks before the suit, even. I know they are made in different places, so that's probably, depends on how busy they are with orders. But, so you figure it was about 3 to 4 weeks, coat was done, it was shipped via DHL, so I got my tracking number, and it was literally 2 days, and it was on my doorstep, and it was perfect. So shipping, 5 out of 5. So I guess that about does it for this review. I know it's a little bit long-winded in places, so sorry about that. But the bottom line is that this coat absolutely gets a 5 out of 5. It was totally worth every penny that I had to scrounge up to pay for it. And I wear this thing at every chance I get. I mean, I wear it to work like every day in the autumn and winter and spring. The only reason I don't wear it in the summer is because it's hot. But it's absolutely worth it. So if you want to save your money, or if you have the money and you're really looking for the most screen accurate that you're going to get, buy the Magnoli coat. You will not be disappointed. So that about does it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. And actually at this point, I've reviewed all of the Magnoli stuff that I currently have. There are a few ties that I don't yet own that I am planning on getting in the future, like the Shakespeare tie, the Hector tie, and the Utopia tie. So I will be reviewing those once I have them. But if you guys want to see some other videos, like if you want me to talk about how I modified my sonic screwdriver, or talk about what kind of props and gadgets you might want to have with your cosplay or that sort of thing, please let me know in the comments, and I would be happy to work on those for you. Also, please feel free to check out my Ultimate Tennant hair tutorial if you want to have the 10th Doctor's hair. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope it's been helpful.